Landing a data role can feel impossible. Sometimes you apply and all you get is instant rejection. What if I tell you there's a practical way you could do so that you'll be able to land a data role in just 30 days, even though if you think the field is very saturated? First of all, welcome to my cyberspace. Now let's get right into it. A lot of times you apply for a job and you feel like you're not good enough, or you feel like your skill is not good enough, or you just get a lot of instant rejection. I'm going to be sharing 5 practical ways for you to be able to land a data role within 30 days. And this is actually very proven. A lot of persons have tried it, and I want you to wait until the end of this video. In fact, the 5th point I'm going to be mentioning is really going to be a point that if you have used up all your options, the 5th point is something that would really land you the opportunity. So first of all, I would say is that what is the real problem? You need to find out what the real problem is, and the real problem can differ for a bunch of persons. So I'm going to state there are a lot of moving pieces when you're applying for data role, or not just even a data role, for a job generally. So one thing is that it could be that your CV is not great, it could be that your LinkedIn profile is not great, it could be that you are not applying to the right jobs. It could be that you are not very aggressive about your job application. It could be that also you are not taking interview right. It could also be that you are not applying to the right industry. But the first step is we trying to recognize what the problem is, and there are a few things you can know what the problem is. Whenever you apply for a job, one of the things you want to do is to be able to, and this is one of the solutions to be able to land a role within 30 days. I would advise you to create an Excel file, or either a Google Sheet, or whatever you want to use to track the data. Obviously you want to apply for a data role. Try to have a column name. You try to call the column name the name of the company, the date you applied, and also either you want to put a link. You would also want to put a column for the decision that you got, either it was an interview, or it was a rejection, or it was maybe any other category that you want to include. Then you also want to put in the date that you got the decision. So let's say you apply on a Monday and you got the decision on a Wednesday, so obviously that could be like the next Wednesday. So it's best to put like the date in itself. So Excel or Google Sheet allows you to be able to insert dates. One other thing you could also do is you could do the dates difference between the date you applied and the date you got a decision. So you tracking this data would be able to help you know what the real problem is, so that you can solve the problem. So one of the things you need to do is, when you apply for a job, if majority of the jobs you're applying for, you notice that you are getting rejection within 24 hours, or you are getting rejection within 48 hours, or a very short time, or even the same day, or almost the time you apply you're getting a rejection, it means the issue is not your CV. And how do I know the issue is not your CV? It could be your CV or not your CV. And let me take that back. The issue is could be your CV, but the issue is that a human being is not even getting to read your CV. So a lot of platforms, they have something called ATS, that's applicant tracking system. So when you submit an application, there are already some things that are pre-programmed in this ATS that would automatically sort out applications, because a lot of people are applying. So it's not a wise system for the HR to review every of the application traditionally. So they already have this AI software that is taking out people in itself. So if you're applying and a human being is not even getting to read your application, even though your CV is good or great, it means that that's a problem in itself. So one of the things you want to do is that when you see a job posting, you want to look at some of the great keywords that are in the job posting and ensure that those keywords are in your CV. Doesn't mean that you're going to just throw a bunch of them in your CV without doing that logically. You want to look at, okay, maybe they mention what like analytics, they mention what's just depending on your field. Make sure you have those phrases on your CV. So if most of the time you're applying, the ATS is the one rejecting you, and how would you know by that? Is if you are getting rejected at the shortest possible time after you apply, then you need to go back and fix your CV to ensure that when you apply for a job, you are applying to the right job. And there's also a lot of platform out there that you can use to test your ATS score. That's the higher your score is, the higher your CV is compatible with the role. So if you are applying and it's necessarily that the job it's taking like maybe a week or 5 days for the HR for them to give you a decision and say rejection, there are also likelihood that it might not just be an ATS at this point that's really rejecting the application. It could be like a human being or an HR manager going into the system and seeing that your CV is not good. So that's one issue. Another one could be that if you notice that you are actually, you can also look at the trend and pattern as to which you are getting your decision. If your decision is maybe you're applying for a certain sector and this sector you would usually get like a rejection, or this sector they will call you for an interview, then you could start to focus more on that particular sector that you're getting an interview for. If your case is not that you are actually getting called for an interview and you're not scaling through interview, then you know that your CV is good. Then all you just need to do is brush up your interview skills. So there, I think one of his first steps to be able to land a role within 30 days is for you to be able to pinpoint what the problem is. There are a bunch of things that could be the problem, but when you narrow down, or some of the things I've said, it's going to help you narrow down what the problem is. And my other videos, I'm going to be talking about like how to really have a great data analysis saving. The next thing I really want to say is code messaging. And some of you would have a ick about this, that I don't want to reach out to people, but it's I think you're the one that needs help right now, and if you really want to fix Survivor, you might want to do this the right way. So how do you do code messaging? There are two different approach majorly. So one of it is you request for an informational interview. You reach out to people, most likely on LinkedIn. At this point, I would expect that your LinkedIn profile is good enough, and I would also be talking about how to see if your LinkedIn profile is good enough and strategies to ensure your LinkedIn profile is good enough. You would send a code message, one of which is informational interview. Informational interview is you're not necessarily requesting for a job. You see somebody's profile that is great, working at an organization that you really like. You try to reach out to them and say, oh, hey, hi, my name is this. I see that you have a very great profile, impressive. I know how to do XYZ. My skills are in this and this. I don't know if you have a time for us to talk about like some of the things you do at work and how your career has been so far. So you're not necessarily asking for a job. So it is during the conversation. So you might have asked yourself that, oh, this is not necessarily asking for a job. Then how would the person know that I need a job? Most times when you reach out to people that way, they would know that you are looking for an opportunity, because I don't think somebody who is very busy or maybe has a job is just trying to code message people, right? So people know already. And one of the things you also have to know is that not everybody would respond and say yes to this. So you have to take it as I would respond or reach out to like a bunch of persons, and I might have a slower response rate. That's fine. So is that still part of the process? So just keep reaching out to different persons. Some of them would accept the informational interview. When they accept the information interview, just have the normal conversation with them, ask them questions, and at the end, they might even be the one offering and say, well, I know a friend that is hiring, and they recommend you. And another approach for code messaging is just going straight to the point and telling them that, hey, hello, my name is this, I like your profile, and you mention what you like about their profile. Don't just say you like their profile. Probably you saw something about their profile or something they posted, that's something that you could talk about. Then the next thing, you talk about your skill set, and you say, okay, you're open to, don't just say any role, just say if there is any opening within the organization or within their network that you really appreciate it. And you would ask if it's fine if you could send them your portfolio and your resume. So most times people would also not respond, but you'd also see a good response rates for that. So that's one of the things you could do. When you do this like constantly and you try to do this regularly, should be able to land a data role within 30 days. And this is even one of the fastest way compared to even just applying for jobs traditionally. One of the things you also want to do is to apply for jobs not the random way. And I'm going to be sharing my screen now to show you how do you apply for jobs not just a random way. So first thing is, a lot of people would go to LinkedIn. So we're also going to use ChatGPT to help us with some of the things we want to talk about. So we go to LinkedIn. So most times people will just go to this job field and maybe search for, let's say, data analyst. And so some of the things you want to do is you might do like dates posted maybe this past week, so that you don't get to see old jobs. You do that. That's one way. Another, maybe you do, if you want also, maybe it's a remote job or whatever, there's easy apply. You keep doing this, but this might not necessarily fetch like a good number of jobs, because what this does is that this already show that over 100 persons applied But this doesn't mean that over 100% apply. It just means that over 100% have clicked on this. It could just be like 30 people have applied. So it doesn't mean you can still apply. But an easiest way to actually even get to apply for jobs on LinkedIn without stress is for you to go to your LinkedIn and go to your search menu and search for data analyst or whatever you want to search for. Or you could just do, let's search for data. So I'll search for data. So one of the things you want to put is you put in quotes data. So this is a Boolean search. It's just trying to say, and you can search for hiring. So what this is saying is when you do this, you press enter. When you do this, so you make sure you click on post. So what we are trying to see is I want to see people who posted a job about like they are hiring a data analyst. So that's one thing you want to do. So you just, and by the time you keep seeing the post, you would see more job. Then you can either, in case you want to, maybe it's a remote job, you can just keep doing that. That's something that you can do. So, and you would most likely see jobs that are in the field. One other thing I think you need to do for LinkedIn is that when you notice somebody post a job, your best bet is to follow the person, especially if they post a job in your field. This is somebody posting a job about in Baltimore. So what I just do is you would follow them. So if you notice this person, because they reposted this job, that's why it's showing up on my feed. The reason why this is showing up on my feed is because I noticed that this person usually reposts jobs. So what I did was I followed them. So one of the ways for you to be able to see a lot of jobs on your LinkedIn feed is to follow people who post jobs. So you follow them or you follow organization. So when you do that a lot, you are going to be seeing a lot of in my field, because of I have interacted with a lot of people who post a lot of data jobs. You would see that I would barely scroll past 30 minutes and I would just keep seeing jobs. Do you see? So this is something that you really want to do so as to make the LinkedIn algorithm like work like for your sake. So that's something that you really want to do. So make sure you don't just use the traditional like search. Make sure you do the normal. Just make sure like you search through a post. Another thing you could also use is you could use ChatGPT. You could ask ChatGPT, give me a Boolean. So this is, you could use this a Boolean search to paste in on Google. On Google, I am applying for a data analyst role. Ensure you include top sites that post data analyst jobs. So let's see what this is going to bring. So it's just going to give me a Boolean search, and I could literally, and you could also say maybe you should include location or home or hybrid or whatever it is. So let's say you want to maybe specific about location, then you could even edit this. So if I copy this and I paste this up on Google, so I will see different sites from Indeed, so this is one way to be able to see a lot of jobs. So I hope this is helpful. Another thing also I want to also try to say is that you want to use you want to be a thought leader in your field. So how do you be a thought leader? A lot of times people say, oh, LinkedIn is hyped or whatever social media platform is hyped. People most time would want to resonate with somebody who they think is an expert in the field. And just to be very honest with you, I think you know more than you think you do. Either you work on a project or whatever it is, or you find something interesting about data analysis, or even just writing a post about what is data analysis, or what is a categorical data or numerical data. Most hiring manager or recruiters doesn't really know like the field in its details. What they see is people who post about the field, and that's how the algorithm informs them when they are searching for people to apply for a job, right? To reach out to. So one thing you want to do is just regularly be posting about like what you do. As you keep posting, recruiters will reach out to you. This is proven. A lot of recruiters have reached out to me just because I post regularly on LinkedIn. So don't be one of those that would say that, oh, LinkedIn is overhyped. One of the things you also want to do is to ensure that your LinkedIn profile is good. And for you to ensure your LinkedIn profile is good, let me show you an example. There might not be a perfect blueprint, but one thing I would do is still use the LinkedIn search menu. So what I would do is I would search for data analyst. When you search for data analyst, you search for people. So what this is doing is you would start to look at different people's profile and see how they organize their profile. So from their profile headline to their, like, whatever they post, certifications they have. So that's going to give you an idea of what a good profile should look like as a data analyst. In a separate video, I'm going to be talking about like how do you really make your profile, LinkedIn profile, great as a data scientist or data expert. So doing that is also going to help you land your data analyst role within 30 days. And one of the things I think you could do, which is probably like second to the last, which I think if you really need to get a job as soon as possible, is that you want to be authentic in your outreach. And I've seen a lot of people would make a long LinkedIn post talking about their current financial situation, talking about how that they've been out of a job and they've been applying the things they've been doing, the skills, and you just write a post up on LinkedIn, and you will see how much of grit we have in humanity. People would reach out, people would repost, people would comment, and I have seen how most times when I read the comments on those posts, a lot of people have even offered to give them certain opportunities. So I would encourage you not to be shy. If you think you've applied for the longest time, it could really be disheartening, but you can take this step of just creating this very genuine post and tell people that, oh, I really need a job, or not being just desperate, but like talking about like the value that you bring to the organization. One bonus tip I'm going to mention is that I think you want to be aggressive in your application. Your first job right now, if you don't have a job, is to apply for a job. So in case you're still feeling like, oh, I haven't gotten the offer, I need to get this offer and all of that, so I would recommend that you try to apply regularly. If you can, maybe almost 50, 20, 30 jobs every day. And when you do this, I'm sure you're going to land your data analyst role. In case this video was a value for time, do also subscribe, like, and follow. Also in the comment section, let me know which of these tips stood out for you, or which of the tips you were just hearing for the first time. Ciao.